So Diego, it's been a couple weeks since the game in Portland. How have you kind of processed that sudden end of the season, and then we'll talk about the rest. But first, like, how have you kind of learned to accept the early end of a tough season?
Yeah, I think it's definitely not how we wanted to end the season, but I think at the end of the day, things happen for a reason, and now we look back at what needs to change so we don't have this happen again.
Does it feel like 2025 moved really fast, even though it was like a 10-month season? You're all over the place with national team and different competitions with the club, but how would you look back at the last 10 months?
Yeah, I think it went by fast, but I think at the same time there were some slow moments where it was very tiring on the body and physically draining. But I think overall, I think the season went by really quick because I was very busy.
Are you the kind of guy that just takes things one day at a time during that season, and that's how 10 months go by super fast?
Yeah, for me it's just another day, and then wake up again and focus on that day, and then see what's to come, and then just day by day, and then game by game, exactly like that.
How would you describe kind of the pros and cons of going back and forth between club and country?
Well, I mean, the pros is being able to represent your country and play with the national team, and what an honor that is. But I think it also brings a level of kind of leadership and not only representing yourself when you go to the national team, but representing the club, Real. So I think that's also super cool, and with that. And then the cons, I think it's difficult to kind of switch between systems and coaching staffs and different players and the chemistry back and forth within a matter of days to switch your whole mindset into a different team.
Several of the guys have talked about rough start to the season, but a lot of lessons learned. Sometimes you have to learn the hard way, getting thrown in the fire, and then the second half of the season, going from 14th to 9th and having a very good home record after June 1st. How would you talk about the lessons learned over the course of this last season?
Yeah, I think ups and downs is what this season was. Kind of like a roller coaster, just kind of up and down. And I think we needed to stay consistent. I think we needed to find the rhythm, and I think we found it, then we lost it, and we would find it and lose it. So I think staying consistent and finding what's working for us and doing it to the best of our ability is something that we need to focus on going into next season.
Speaking of country, the next U.S. camp is going to be announced here shortly.
Yep.
If all signs point to you being part of that U.S. group, playing against Paraguay and your teammate Brian Ojeda in Philadelphia, what would that be like if both of you play against each other in a couple weeks, but then also both of you in the World Cup next year?
Yeah, I think, both of us, being able to say we're in the draft for that World Cup is a blessing, and I think, on a daily basis we continue to work for, with Real, or even in the off season, continuing to work for that big goal, right? But I think, hopefully, this next camp is another step in the right direction where we both get called in and we have the opportunity to represent our countries, and this time against each other, which would be pretty cool for Real and also pretty cool for us individually.
You are a finalist. You were a finalist for Young Player of the Year, and then are still a finalist for the Audi Community Impact Award for the league. What does that mean to you to be in the final three candidates for both those categories?
Yeah, I think the Young Player of the Year, being able to be a finalist is, you're doing something right. And I think to do it back-to-back years is, something I'm proud of. And, it shows that I had two good seasons. And, but I think there's a lot more to strive for and with that I believe in myself for next year. And then, for the Audi Award, I think that's super, awesome to be able to be recognized for something like that outside of soccer, and something that I really care for and something that I enjoy talking about and putting effort into. So I think that's pretty cool.
How would you describe, I guess, what it means to you to be recognized for your kind of pioneering spirit with the mental health advocacy and having those efforts be recognized both locally and nationally?
Yeah, I think for me it was never, I don't know how to say it. Like, I didn't think it was going to be as big of a deal as it was for me. I think it was just something that I realized that I had a platform now to spread something that, you know, that I went through, or that, you know, I have evidence of and can back up something like that has helped me. And now with the platform I've created, to realize that I can help a lot of other kids that are going through something that I went through, or that can prevent that, I think is a super cool thing to do. And, you know, why not do it when you get the platform and it's something that you enjoy and something that has helped you.
Last question from me then is, what would be some of the things that have you excited for next year, and then what's your message to the fans looking ahead to 2026?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to be able to play in that stadium again, at America First Field. And then, you know, for next year, hopefully, you know, all the fans can back us up again, and hopefully we guys can give you a much more successful season and a longer season. And we appreciate, you know, all that they did for us this year, and hope to see many of you guys again next year.
You become one of the creative leaders on the field. How do you see your evolution within the club and your impact on the team's identity?
Yeah, I think for me it's, you know, I came in here as a teenager and didn't get much playing time, and now be able to, you know, grow and be more of a leader here at the club is super cool. And I think for me there's a lot more improvement on the leadership side and the kind of being that guy for the team and stuff. And I think that's something I need to grow into more. And I'd say specifically off the field, with that's connecting with my teammates and getting more chemistry and bonding together more. But I think it's a very cool opportunity for me to be in this position, to have have that kind of look on myself, to be that type of guy.
The World Cup is getting closer. It will be hosted here in the United States and broadcast on Telemundo. And how motivating is that for you, and what would you mean to represent your country in World Cup playing on home soil?
Yeah, I think for me it's you know, one in a lifetime opportunity to be able to play in a World Cup in your home country. I think that's a one in a lifetime opportunity. And I think for me I'd be extremely grateful. I'd be honored, and I think it's going to take a lot of work this year, a lot of preparation. With this off season leading into preseason next year, and making sure we hit the ground running for a good beginning of the year to get the opportunity to play in that World Cup.
And how does your Latino background influence the way your experience representing the United States internationally?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it affects it in any way. I'm Mexican American, so I was born here, and the U.S. has given me the opportunity, and you know, as I've been here and given me all that I've had with the soccer world and outside of that. And of course, I'm not ashamed to be Mexican and or anything like that. But I'm playing for the U.S. and, you know, a country that I was born in and lived in for the last 22 years.